Iron Man is our Diamond Anniversary review for the month of May. It's come out 10 years ago exactly, and it stars Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, and Jeff Bridges. So let's talk about where we were when we saw Iron Man and how we felt about it. So tell me about your first experience real quick with Iron Man.
The first time I saw this movie, it was opening weekend, back when it came out, 2008.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed just because at this time in my life, before we started reviewing movies, when I went to go see a comic book movie, as if I knew the character or the director. Like, if I didn't know the character or the director, I had no interest in it. So I wasn't a big Iron Man fan, but I was a big Jon Favreau fan. So I wanted to see what he could do with the genre.
Yeah.
And I was quite impressed with not only what he did with the action sequences in his direction, but just people forget that 10 years ago, Robert Downey Jr. was a high-risk actor. Nobody would give him a big role like this. And Jon Favreau rolled the dice on him with it, and I think that it paid off in spades.
Yeah, I think so too. When I saw it, I'm with you on that. I didn't know much about Iron Man. I didn't know about the origin story of Iron Man, and I really didn't grasp, I don't think, what MCU was starting to do here. I didn't.
Well, at the same time, they were just kind of
figuring it out.
And
I was impressed with this. I was like, whoa, Iron Man's super cool. I just, going in blind, I think made me more impressed with this movie. And yes, the choice of Robert Downey Jr., which was on purpose from Jon Favreau, to be like, listen, Tony Stark has a lot of connections with your career as well. You've been in the light for the good and the bad, so I think you can use this to the character. And let's talk about Robert Downey Jr. in this performance. I mean, I think that he nails it.
Oh yeah, just absolute perfect casting, and his personality fits. We both said that we really didn't know much about Iron Man before we went to see this movie, and I think that it's not that I love Iron Man the character as much as I love Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and Iron Man.
Yeah.
So I think that his performance is what helps elevate Iron Man. He's one of the A-list Marvel characters now. He was kind of B-list, when this movie came out, and I think that his performance elevated it. Just perfect casting, perfect comedic timing, and his chemistry between the conversations he has with Gwyneth Paltrow, Jeff Bridges, and Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
Between all of them, he has great chemistry and a lot of improvised dialogue. They had a very loose script when they shot this movie.
For me, I think they took some beats from Batman Begins in a good way. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think that Batman Begins nailed it when it came to the comic book origin story.
Yeah.
Just in the regard that they make us care about the human behind the hero first.
Right.
And then we care about the hero, and we care about the transformation into the hero.
Yeah.
So I think that they handled that well, especially with the little bit playing around with the timeline in the beginning.
Yeah.
I like how they
Jumping
just open
back.
with the action sequence.
Yes.
Kind of reflect back on how he got there, and then the story picks up from there. So I liked how they did that, and I think that it's a good establishment of what the character was, what the change they went through, and how the change affected them. Then they become the hero.
Exactly, and it takes its time, and that's what's very important about this movie, is watching it again. Spoilers in this review, by the way, if you haven't seen it, but he gets out of the cave roughly around 45 minutes into the movie. So he's not even Iron Man or creating the suit until about halfway through this film, which is such a great decision, especially for the MCU. Once again, this is like the MCU building a world of being like, this could be its own little movie as well. And that's what it needs to be to get to know these characters. Talking about the cave scene, this is a big deal. I couldn't believe the direction they went with it when I saw this first. I was like, man, he is in this cave. He's getting tortured. This is a shitty situation for him. And it really makes it believable of the change that he needs to go through. He goes through a lot.
Yeah.
He has to struggle through this. And just like Batman Begins, it makes the impossible improbable, but maybe possible. Of creating a weapon through a cave. Plausible.
At best, plausible.
Plausible. But in this world, it makes it seem like it quite possibly could happen.
Yeah.
And I think they do that well. There is the relationship with the scientist in the cave that he resides with.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird, watching this movie now, especially after we just saw Infinity War, kind of the culmination, we're going back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
And it's that guy had the biggest effect on, Tony's transformation. He was the person who was the victim he mentions all the victims, the soldiers that got killed in the raid and everything like that, about how they were affected by his weapons creation. But that was the direct link. Someone he knew, someone he cared about, someone he wanted to help.
He was borderline his spiritual guide through this, of his change, and that is...
It's kind of like the Ra's al Ghul equivalent of Batman Begins.
Right, and I feel for me, I think this character was great. I think it was necessary and everything. My problem is with that character, though he does pass away in the cave, we don't hear about him again
Ever.
And I'm like, come on, Tony, are you ever going to talk to a friend about this guy that pretty much saved your life?
Yeah, he pops up in Iron Man 3.
Does he?
For a second. Well, like you know how he said, I met you at a conference?
Yeah.
They flash back to that conference in Iron Man 3, and he's in it for like a second.
I'm just looking for like a little bit of a tribute for this guy because he's such a big deal.
Right. Do you think the special effects hold up?
Yes, I do. Like, I don't really have a short answer. Do you?
I think they do.
I mean, a long answer.
I think they do in some spaces.
Yeah.
And in some spaces, like, they don't.
Yeah.
But when they do hold up, sometimes I'm watching it, I'm like, this looks better than the stuff they're doing now. Like, as far as the special effects go, I had some minor complaints with Infinity War, but I won't spoil anything to anybody who hasn't seen Infinity War. But there's a different person in Iron Man armor in Infinity War. And when they show it with the head revealed, it kind of looked like a floating head. But like when Jeff Bridges is in, his armor at the end, I'm like, God, this looks better than the floating head in Infinity War. Yeah. So it's weird how in some spots I thought that not only the special effects hold up, they look kind of better than some of the special effects today. But then there are some sequences where I'm like, ooh, this is super CGI looking.
Yeah, there are, but I agree. I think that they integrated it with real world. The special effects
they blended
a little bit better. They blended it really well.
But there are some shots where it's like you can totally tell they're composite, and it's like, all right, this looks a little fake.
Yeah, but when he goes out to save the family, like it's really smoky, and it's really, there's a lot of explosions, and it's in the desert, and it's really hot, and I think it looked really, really good there. There's lots of scuffs on it, like when he shoots the tank and walks away from it. I'm like, this looks still really, really dope.
I think that action sequence when he first has the full suit and he goes over there, I think that's the best action sequence of the movie.
I think it is too.
And that was like all right, sweet, this movie can kick some ass.
Yeah, and that leads me to the action in this movie represents character development. It's not like, okay, action set piece. Like, there's a lot of action scenes where it's kind of like, there's one where Stark's just trying to like get away from getting blown out of the sky because he doesn't, want to be attacked by the jet. All these action scenes mean something, and that's why, again, I can forgive the special effects a little bit because I'm engaged. Let's talk about Terrence Howard. Do you like him better than Don Cheadle?
I can't say that I like him better than Don Cheadle, but rewatching this does make me reflect on when, we found out he was going to be coming back for Iron Man 2, where it's like, oh, that sucks because he was so good in this role. It sucks that he and Disney had to argue over money and couldn't be in the movie. But
his loss in the long run.
Well, true, but I mean, I do just as much like Don Cheadle in the role. But I will say that watching Terrence Howard, I'm like, oh man, kind of like what could have been. But yeah, I'm still glad that what we got now for as far as
Don
Rhodey.
Cheadle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with Don Cheadle, but I liked Terrence Howard a lot. I was actually really bummed when he wasn't coming back. I was like, and the disappointment that was Iron Man 2 when we get introduced to Don Cheadle's,
right.
And
I mean,
that's where I was just like, it's not his fault.
No,
it's just this movie's fault that he sucks.
Right. Yeah. No. It's not that he sucks in the movie. He's good in a sucky kind of movie type thing. Where,
right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Did I not walk out of Iron Man 2 with the problems to go, and then Don Cheadle? No. It's just completely everything.
It's a blanket, of problems with Iron Man 2.
It's kind of funny just to go back after all of these movies in the MCU, after 10 years, 19 movies, including Infinity War. It's just like some of the oh hey, Terrence Howard isn't Rhodey anymore, and like, oh, that picture of Howard Stark isn't John Slattery. Just like right. So, and like the relationship, the budding relationship with Pepper. So it's kind of cool, just like, oh, remember how this began? Like they were just throwing darts at the wall and it stuck. So.
Yeah, they were, and it did stick, but they had to make a few adjustments to match up with the timeline. And also, I think Jeff Bridges gets overlooked as one of the greater villains of the Marvel Universe. This guy's slimy.
I think in retrospect, he is one of the greater Marvel villains. And not that there was anything wrong with his performance the first time around. It's just that, once we got a big enough sample size, that's where he really stands out. Because if you had to go through phase 1 and pick out the standout villain, I mean, it's easily Loki.
Yeah.
But I would say that, Jeff Bridges is a very close second. Like, I would say him and like Red Skull are right there behind Loki as far as like the best phase 1 villains.
Yeah, I just think that he stands out a little bit because he's not trying to take over the world like the other ones. He's not going after any Tesseract cube or anything like that.
Yeah, you understand his motivations.
Yeah, and he also is like, I like him a lot leading up to maybe like, over halfway through the movie. I'm like, oh wow, he is kind of a piece of crap. Like I liked him. I mean, I love Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, it's just that's exactly the halo effect with Jeff Bridges. Just like he's talking, he's being all Jeff Bridges-y, and
like how charming.
Right? Yeah. I love him in this role, and it's a believable turn to a villain. His motivations are believable, and the reveal is also believable and well executed. Buffs.
All right, so it's been 10 years since Iron Man with 18 movies that followed it. Put a score on it.
I really enjoyed Iron Man. I think it's very rewatchable, and if you are a fan of the MCU, I highly recommend going back and watching how it all started. I'm going to give the original Iron Man a 9 out of 10. Great superhero movie, just a fun action movie, and it still holds up 10 years later. Even though we got all these quality MCU movies, in the subsequent years, this one still stands out.
Yeah, I agree. I love Iron Man. I think this is one of the stronger of the MCUs. I think it's up there as one of the better origin stories right next to Batman Begins. I think it just tells a really well-paced, clear story. And I'm going to go exact same. 9 out of 10. I highly if you haven't seen Iron Man, that's kind of unbelievable to me, but go see it.
Yeah, and if you have, watch it again, man. It's still good.
Very good.
Buffs.
All right, so that's our review of Iron Man. What do you guys think of the movie? What do you think of the MCU as a whole? Leave all your comments down below.
And be sure to join us next month when we go back to June 2008. Don't worry, we're not just picking the best of 2008. We're picking some of the worst, and it doesn't get much worse than The Happening. So let's just see how it is 10 years later. Is it better? Is it worse?
Right.
It might be the funniest movie we see all year.
It could be, yeah.
But we'll bring you that review next month. So until then, no matter where you are, no matter who you're with,
watch more movies.